All right. So first things first, I do want to let folks know that this is the nursing information session specifically for our transfer students and post-bac students. So if you think you don't identify as either, this may not be too relevant for your educational path. No hard feelings if you decide that you don't want to stay for the presentation. And then for our running start students who are interested in the 2-year program, a lot of the information we will be covering will be relevant to you all, such as the prereqs you need to complete, but the materials may be slightly different that the student needs to submit. The timeline and application will be a little bit different. So a lot of the information will be similar, but we would recommend you get in touch with your first time in college admissions counselor. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into it with the mission. So a little bit more about our mission, folks. We always like to begin these presentations by introducing our mission statement, just because we are a very mission-driven institution, and it's really the foundation for our university. But what does that mean? So the mission is really our Jesuit model of education. So you can see here that at Seattle U, we're dedicated to educating the whole person, to professional formation, and to empowering leaders for a just and humane world. It's often a deciding factor for why students choose Seattle U, and it's really a force that unifies students, faculty, staff, everyone on campus. And it's something we really try to uphold and live by across the university. Students will often see this on all the syllabi. It will just be kind of reiterated time and time again throughout your time at Seattle University. This idea of really living the mission. All right, so a few quick facts about campus. So SU was founded in 1891, and we are one of 27 Jesuit colleges in the nation. So for folks who haven't been to our campus before, that red border at the bottom is our entire campus. It may look a little bit big, but folks can usually get across it in about 15 minutes, depending on how fast they walk. And we are located in a very vibrant area, and we're surrounded by some diverse neighborhoods, including downtown, Capitol Hill, and the International District. This area in our location is particularly neat for our nursing students, as we are located on what is called Pill Hill, which is essentially a couple of blocks that house 4 hospitals. So that'll be Harborview, Swedish Medical Center, First Hill, Swedish Medical Center, Cherry Hill, and the Virginia Mason Medical Center. We do have around 7,300 students total on campus. This includes our undergraduate students, our law students, and our grad students. And for undergraduate programs, we have a little bit closer to about 4,700. Of those undergraduate students, about 1,200, so about maybe 20 to 25% are transfer students or post-bac students. And we do have one of the highest transfer populations at a private institution in the Pacific Northwest. So we're really proud of being a very transfer-friendly institution. All of our classes will be 100% taught by SU faculty. And you'll find that the average class size at Seattle U is about 18 students with an overall ratio of 11 students to about 1 professor campus-wide. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into financial aid and scholarships. So some information on this topic. Our annual cost of tuition at SU is about $50,300 for this upcoming 2022-2023 academic school year. And this is for a full-time student. So we absolutely acknowledge that the price tag may seem a little bit more expensive than most institutions, but I always like to emphasize that about 92% of our students do receive some sort of financial aid. Need-based aid is absolutely available, and we highly encourage students to submit their FAFSA or WASA as soon as students submit their application. So the financial aid award usually won't be processed until after a student has been admitted. So we just recommend that students complete that FAFSA application at the same time. So that information is available to the students as soon as possible. There are merit scholarship opportunities, so transfer students are automatically considered for these merit-based scholarships upon admission. The only exception here are our post-bac students. Unfortunately, they will not be eligible for merit scholarships. They may be eligible for loans and potentially other things through the FAFSA, but merit scholarships will not be one of them. Some other scholarship opportunities, as you can see there at the bottom, we do have an Alfie Scholars Program. So this is for students coming from community colleges and who have completed associate's degrees. They do need to have a GPA of 3.5 or higher, and students will be eligible to apply for the Alfie Scholars Program through a separate application. So that will be an additional application. They'll need to write a few essays. There's an interview involved, and that is a $30,000 scholarship split up in 2 years. I always like to let students know that all scholarships are stackable. So it can be stackable with the merit scholarships, with the financial aid, etc. And then, of course, we also are a yellow ribbon school for any of our student veterans or dependent of veterans. So we do have that aid available for students as well. All right, so we're going to jump into some BSN program highlights. So the first thing to note here is that our BSN transfer program is a cohort model. So when students come in for the first quarter, they'll be starting with about 80 to 90 other students, generally speaking, and they will stay with those 80 to 90 other students all the way till the end of the program. So the students will be taking the same courses during the same quarters at the same time. So students will get to know each other quite well. And in the first quarter, students will actually start off with a class called Health Assessment Interventions. And that's where students are going to learn all the hands-on nursing stuff. So how to learn how to wash your hands, how to transfer patients, how to pass drugs, how to give injections. And students will actually practice on each other. So you will all get to know each other very, very well when you're poking each other with needles. So you'll get pretty close with these students as you will spend approximately the next 7 quarters together. The second thing I wanted to highlight is advising. So students are required to meet with an advisor every quarter they are here. And as a transfer student, students will be meeting with their transfer advisor for the first year minimum. So they'll meet with this advisor to chat about courses, registration, to help the student settle in, to figure out how things are going, etc. Right? So we're really looking to support students through their transition to Seattle U. And then students will also be connected to a faculty advisor, and all of our faculty are nurses. So students will see, at least in their second year, a faculty advisor every single quarter as well. And the idea of having this professional advisor is that students will really get to chat with a professional within the field. They'll be able to start talking about the NCLEX, which is the National Licensure Exam. And so really trying to prepare the students for this kind of post-graduation conversation and supporting them in, exploring their interests within the nursing field. The next thing is the population health internship. This is a recent addition to the program, and the idea behind it is that we're really interested in giving students experience and exposure to population health, or in other words, public health. COVID-19 has really shown us why it's so important, and it's really emphasized that medicine and healthcare don't always take place in healthcare settings. So the internship places students within a community. It can be a school, maybe it's working with a homeless population, maybe it's working with a traveling medical van, something along those lines. And the purpose being that students really start to listen to the communities and figuring out what the problems within those communities are. So the second quarter that the student will be in this internship, the student will actually create some sort of intervention to address the problem. And in that third quarter, the students will implement the intervention. So, one of the most important things about population health is that it's really important to have a long-term relationship with the community, which is why the college has specifically built this into a year-long internship. And then, of course, our clinical performance lab or the CPL. So this will be the nursing students' second home pretty much. It's basically 20,000 square feet and is housed at our Cherry Hill Swedish Hospital. So really gives students the feel of a hospital setting. And this is where students will be getting all their training, all that stuff I was talking about previously about learning how to give injections, etc. Students will be in the CPL for every single clinical they do. There's high fidelity and low fidelity mannequins. So high fidelity mannequins that can respond to you, so they can talk, they have heartbeats. There's one that actually literally gives birth over and over again. She has fluids coming out, she makes noises. So all of these things that they can program the mannequin to do, but this really gives students the opportunity to gain experience without actually practicing on somebody who is a live person. And then, of course, the last thing is education abroad. So nursing students do have a pretty packed and rigorous schedule. And if you have taken a look, students will not have time to go to study abroad during the regular school year, which includes fall, winter, or spring. However, there is some time for students to study abroad after their junior year. So students can do their traditional study abroad experience, and there are also specific nursing study abroad options, and the purpose being that students have an immersive experience in a different country and still thinking about nursing. So usually this will look very similar to the population health internship, but within a different community abroad.
All right, thank you so much, Jennifer, for that information. We are going to get into the application requirements, the process, the prerequisite requirements. If you have any questions at this point, please do hold them until the end, just because we are going to go over a lot of information, but I promise that we will get to your questions. So the first thing that we want to start with is just a little bit about the student profile for the fall 2021 nursing cohort. So this is our nursing cohort that started this previous fall quarter. They've been in the program now for about a year, but the reason we want to share this information with you is just so you can get a little bit of an idea of who was admitted to the program last year. Or 2 years ago. So the average cumulative GPA for these students was a 3.608. The average prerequisite GPA was a 3.756. 22% of students in this nursing cohort were post-baccalaureate students. So that means that they have earned a bachelor's degree previously, and this BSN, this Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, will be an additional bachelor's degree. 24% of the cohort are transfer students coming from four-year universities. 54% are students who are coming from the community college system. And then a little bit of data on the student profile. It's not completely accurate. We know there's a lot of nuance and gray area, right, with gender, but 83% identified as female, 16% identified as male, 1% of students did not identify as male or female, and then 6% of students in the cohort had some sort of veteran status. So either they had previously served or are a dependent of a veteran. So this is the application checklist. There's a few key pieces of information we want to go over here. You can see at the very bottom in red that all application, the application first of all, but then also additional materials are all going to be due on December 1st of 2022. So we only accept students into our nursing program each fall. And as Jennifer mentioned, we do have a cohort model. So this is why students are only accepted in the fall. And when you log into the application, you will need to select fall 2023 as your start term in order for the nursing application to show up. If you're selecting a different start term, likely the nursing application is not going to show up for you because we're only admitting students coming up for fall 2023 start. To apply to the nursing program, y'all are going to use our Seattle University transfer application. So we do have a transfer application that is internal to the Seattle University website. You will be able to create a login into the application, and you'll be able to go in and go out of it all the way up until the deadline of December 1st. There's a few things in the application that we'd like to highlight. One of them is the prerequisite form. So in the application, you will be able to indicate which prerequisite courses for nursing you have already completed, which courses you may have in progress, and which courses you might still have coming up. And that prerequisite form is really important for us on our team to be able to keep track of your prerequisite completion and to make sure that you're eligible to apply to the program in the first place. We'll talk about prerequisites in a few slides. And then another big part of the application is our nursing application essays. There are 2 different essay questions. The first essay is really asking, why are you passionate about nursing? What are your career goals as a nurse? How have you become interested in nursing? Things like that. And then the second essay question is going back to that mission statement that Jennifer shared at the beginning of the presentation. We'd like to know if there's anything that you really connect to in our mission statement, anything that resonates with you, and just it's an opportunity for you to reflect a little bit about SU's mission and how you might relate to the mission, because we are a very mission-oriented university. There is also space in the application for you all to share with us different volunteer or work experiences that are related to nursing. And this is what we call an activity log. It's a little bit like a resume, but you will not have to format a resume. You'll just simply go into the activity log and share with us, like I said, different experiences you've had that are relevant to nursing. We do really recognize that it's a privilege to be able to have relevant work experience in healthcare, especially with the last few years of the pandemic. We know that volunteer experiences and work experiences have been impacted and maybe are a bit more limited. We also know that there's a lot of ways to have strengths and skills as a future nurse, not just from working in the healthcare system. So think about different experiences that you've had, different times that you've worked with people. Maybe you're a caretaker in your personal family or your community. All of those experiences are completely valid, and we want to hear about them in your activity log. So those are a few of the main components of just the application alone. And again, that's going to be due on December 1st. We are also going to need official transcripts from each college or university that you have previously attended or that you're currently attending. So please, plan accordingly to get your official transcripts submitted by December 1st, especially if you are mailing any transcripts or ordering them online or working with your previous institutions to get those official transcripts. We're going to need them by December 1st. And then if any of you are taking additional prerequisite classes for nursing in the fall term, so that's coming up here in about a month, if anybody is taking additional courses, we are also going to need to receive an updated transcript from you. It does not have to be an official. It can definitely be an unofficial transcript. But yeah, if you're taking any prereqs in the fall, we need to receive that unofficial transcript from you with your fall grades posted as soon as it's available. And you'll be able to email that to us directly or submit it through our application system. And then if applicable, we do have a $60 application fee. There are a lot of different waivers available in the application. If you're not able to pay the $60, no worries. We are also going to need to receive any official exam scores, such as AP scores, IB scores, CLEP exam scores. If you want to try to use those scores to receive credit for your BSN prerequisites, please send us those official scores. Again, we need to receive them by December 1st. And then the last one here is English proficiency, which is on the next slide. So just a little bit about our English proficiency requirement. We do have this requirement. So for any students where English might not be your primary or first language, we need to see English proficiency met. And there's a lot of different ways to meet this requirement. If you have specific questions, definitely reach out to our team. We would love to answer your questions around English proficiency, but some ways to meet the requirement are maybe through previous college level English coursework, maybe your GPA, a certain amount of college credits that you've previously taken. And then we do accept a lot of test scores as well to demonstrate English proficiency, as well as some additional degrees. And there is more info on the website about English proficiency as well. All right, this would be a great time, if you have not already, to take out maybe a phone to take notes, or take a photo of this slide, or get out a piece of paper and a pen. But this is the prerequisite requirements for the BSN program. I'm going to go through all of this information, and we can definitely return to this slide at the end of the presentation. But in order to apply for our nursing program at Seattle University, there are 10 nursing prerequisites that you are going to need to complete. I'm just going to read them out just so you can be thinking of them. So one of them is Intro to Biology, Intro to Chemistry, Statistics, Anatomy and Physiology 1, Anatomy and Physiology 2, Microbiology, Intro to Psychology, Lifespan Psychology, or some psychology class covering birth to death, human nutrition, and then a second math class that is college level. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But all 10 of these prerequisites must be completed by the end of spring term 2023. 7 out of the 10 of these prerequisites must be completed by the end of fall term 2022. So that's this upcoming fall quarter. You need to have 7 out of 10 completed in order to be eligible for the program. At least one of those 7 must be a core science class. So what we consider a core science class is either ANP1, ANP2, or microbiology. So you need at least one of those completed by the end of fall term. We also need to have at least one of the math prerequisites completed. So either statistics or a college level math class. And this second college level math class can be pre-calculus 1 or higher. It could also be a college algebra for business class. And sometimes students have questions about this. It cannot be an algebra class. So this class needs to be college level. It needs to be level 100 or above. And the content needs to be something maybe similar to an applied math class or a business math class. And if you have questions about certain courses that can satisfy this requirement, definitely let us know. And then I'll just say again, if you are taking any prerequisites this coming fall 2022 term, we need updated fall transcripts as soon as your grades are released, and an unofficial transcript is okay, but we are going to need to see that. Additionally, with these prerequisites, you can see in the red font that there are some time limits to these requirements. So if you have taken, on the left-hand side, if you have taken any of these classes, there's 6 classes listed. If you've taken those in the year 2018 or later, then you are good to go. That is completely fine. We will accept those classes. However, if you maybe took statistics in 2016, you are going to need to retake that course because it is going to be considered expired. And then on the right-hand side, you can see 4 additional courses that need to be completed within 10 years. So that's the year 2013 or later. If you took Intro to Psychology in 2006, you are going to need to retake psychology because we will consider it to be expired. So these are the 10 prerequisites. Again, if you have questions, we will be able to come back to this at the end of the presentation. And then I think I'm going to pass it off to Carrie. Yeah.
Thank you, Mia. All right. So can we have the next slide, please? Wonderful. Okay. So we talked about some very detailed requirements. We are going to continue to provide more details within those details. So if you were taking diligent notes for the last slide, keep your note taking going because there's more to discuss here. So one thing that you'll need to keep in mind, we do require a 3.0 GPA in order to be considered for the BSN program. Now that 3.0 GPA is for both your prerequisite and your cumulative GPA. So the prerequisite GPA is the GPA for those 10 classes that we looked at on the previous slide. and we require 3.0 in that. So if you think about that, then you're wanting to aim for like 3.0 or higher in each of those prerequisites. Now, the cumulative GPA is your overall GPA, so that's going to factor in classes, essentially all of the classes that you've taken. Now, if you've attended multiple colleges, we do require the transcripts from every college that you've attended, even if you did not take prerequisites at that college. So we require your full academic record, and the GPA will be calculated across all the schools. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, within each prerequisite course, I gave some info about, if you're going for that 3.0 or higher prerequisite GPA, you're of course going to want to go for a 3.0 or higher in each prerequisite course. However, a 2.0 or higher in each prerequisite course will make it so that that course is eligible to be considered as fulfilling the prerequisite. So at the minimum, we need to have that 2.0 or higher prerequisite, but again, you're going to want to go for 3.0 higher, more closer to like the 3.5 range. So if you got below a 2.0 in any of the courses, also if you withdrew from any of the prerequisites, then that's where this next bullet point comes into play about the repeated prerequisite courses. So we saw a question in the chat earlier about this, so here's the answer. We do have a prerequisite repeat policy, and that's that no more than we can't accept any more than 2 total repeated prerequisite courses, with the exception to that being those outdated courses. Because as Mia just explained to us, sometimes you are required to retake a prerequisite if you took it in 2016, for example. So that does not go towards this repeat limit. But as a point of clarification, in these 2 total repeated prerequisite courses, it can look a few different ways. So there is some nuance to that. So that could mean, for example, let's say somebody repeats lifespan psychology 1 time and they repeat statistics 2 times. So that would be maximizing that repeat policy. That's 2 repeated courses. Another way that could look is if you repeat 1 prerequisite 2 times. So maybe you took anatomy and physiology 2 times. That also goes towards the repeat policy. So it can look a few different ways, but it's 2 times total, not just 2 different courses. All right, so the next thing, transfer associate's degree, bachelor's degree, because as we've been talking about, we do accept post-baccalaureate students as well, or 90 transferable credits, which would be 60 transferable credits if you're coming from the semester system. So what this means is essentially students have to come in at junior standing. That's because, as Jennifer mentioned earlier when she was talking about education abroad, the course sequencing is so tightly packed that students really do need to come in with that junior standing so that they're able to jump right into that course structure, prepare for their clinicals, and finish in that 2-year timeline. So that's why we have this requirement. Again, it can look a lot of different ways. So you can come in with a transferable associate's degree. For instance, if you're attending a Washington State community college, a DTA would be considered a transferable associate's degree. As we've already discussed, you come in with a bachelor's degree for another subject. That's the way you can meet the requirement. Or as long as you have 90 transferable credits or 60 semester credits, that also counts. So even if you're not like specifically doing an associate's degree plan at your current institution, as long as you're getting the right number of transferable credits, that is okay. Just some basic guidelines about transferable credits. Generally speaking, credits from a regionally accredited institution that are considered academic coursework. So what that means is courses that aren't vocational or technical, as well as courses that are college level, so 100 level and higher. Generally, those are what we would call transferable courses. So that's kind of what you're looking at. Now, on the note of the associate's degree as well, just keep in mind that if you're earning an applied associate's degree, because we know there are many great applied degrees out there, you're still eligible to apply, but the degree itself probably won't give you those 90 transfer credits like a transfer degree would. And that's because a lot of times in like applied science or associate of applied science, for example, those degrees might include credits that are more vocationally or technically focused. Again, you can still apply if you pursued one of those degrees, but you would still have to probably take extra courses at another institution in order to get up to that credit amount that you need to apply to this program. And then one other note is encouraging students to take that hands-on art requirement. This is part of Seattle University's core curriculum, is that all students at Seattle U are required to have this arts class. So again, in order to make sure you come in at junior standing and stay on track with the requirements for the nursing program, we want students to have this arts class completed by the time they come in. So hands-on art, what we mean by that is something where you're actually making or producing the art. So think like painting, ceramics, that kind of thing. Something like art history may not count. There are so many different types of art classes out there, and there's a lot of nuance into what does and does not fulfill this requirement. So by all means, reach out to your transfer counselor if you want to ask about your specific course, and we can help you figure that out. All right, so we spent the last two slides talking about tons of things that are required. So here we can start talking about a few things that are not required. So first, that's high school transcripts, and that's because you know, we want students to be coming in. Well, we require that students are coming in with those 90 credits. So with such a high credit amount, we don't need to be looking at your high school transcripts. We also do not require SAT or ACT scores. We do not require the TEAS test. And we also do not require letters of recommendation. So one thing that's really important to note about those letters of recommendation is not only are they not required, but they're also not accepted. Since we're not requiring them across the board for all students, it wouldn't be fair to, you know, review letters of recommendation for some students if we're not reviewing them for others who were not required to submit them. So if you have a letter of recommendation on file, please don't send it in. It will not be added to your application. And this is just, you know, one less thing that you need to secure for this application. So yeah. Okay, so when we get to the actual application review, here's a sample of things that we're looking at. So we go through a holistic application review process, which means we are not simply looking at one item. It's not your GPA and that's it. We are looking at how several different factors fit together and, you know, show us who you are as a candidate for this program. So first and foremost, at the top of this circle, the completion of prerequisites. That's sort of an essential thing that we do need to see in order to consider your application. So think back to the slide that Mia shared with you where she showed you what those 10 courses are. You have to have 7 of the 10 done by the end of fall quarter. And then you have to have, you know, 1 core science class and 1 of those math classes done within those 7 courses that are done by fall quarter. This is a basic thing we have to see in order to be able to consider any application. So first and foremost, make sure you have the plan for those prerequisites so we can consider your application. So then, as we talked about, we are also looking at your cumulative GPA and your prerequisite GPA. 3.0 is the minimum in both of those categories to be considered, but also think back to the slide we had with the profile of the fall 2021 cohort. Students who were admitted generally had 3.5 or higher GPAs in both of those categories. We are also looking at your grade trend. Ideally, we like to see a consistent or an upward grade trend. We certainly recognize that there may be periods in an applicant's educational history where maybe there were extenuating circumstances. So one quarter, the grades were lower, or maybe the grades started out lower as you're getting used to college and you improved over time and ended with a really strong grade trend. Grade trends can look all sorts of different ways. And we just want to invite you to, in the application, there are a few extra spaces after the essays where you can share any context that you would like to provide about your grade trend. You're not required to do that. It's only to the extent that you're comfortable. But if there is any information that you want to let the admissions committee know about your grade trend, you are welcome to provide some extra explanations about that. So we are also reading the essays. This is one of our absolute favorite parts of reading these applications because we really get to know you and we get to know your story and why you are interested to study nursing and be at Seattle University. You know, we want to know how you're connected to the field of healthcare. And as we've talked about, that can look a lot of different ways. It can look through, we can see that through like family engagements. We can see that through volunteer work. previous work experience. It can look a lot of different ways, but we want to know how you're connected to the field of healthcare, why you're interested in it, and then again, why you're invested in Seattle University's mission. And then another requirement, so kind of similar to the completion of the prerequisites, we have to see that you're on that track to earn 90 credits. It doesn't mean you have to have those 90 credits completed at the time you apply. So it's okay if your credits are a little lower on December 1st, but we need to clearly see through your application that you are on track to earn those credits by the start of the next fall quarter. And then finally, SU fit. So what that means, again, like through the essay and through your the activity log, we kind of get a sense of, you know, what you'd contribute to the Seattle U community, why Seattle U is specifically interesting to you, and how you connect to the mission. All right, so here's an overview of the process. So as we've been talking about, the application is due on December 1st. It's a very strict deadline, so make sure that your application is in by then. We encourage students to apply as soon as they can, just in case there's any follow-up questions we need to ask you about your application. That gives us more time to get in touch with you. So certainly, you know, plan to apply well before that December 1st deadline, but December 1st is the deadline. And we need to see your prerequisite form and your transcripts submitted by then. So again, you know, as we talked about, this doesn't mean every single prerequisite has to be done on December 1st, but it does mean we have to see your plan to be completing the 7 of the 10 by the end of fall quarter, which is just a few weeks after December 1st. And we have to see your plan to complete all of them by the end of spring 2023. So we need to clearly see your prerequisite plan and your transcripts for your existing courses after this December 1st deadline. Make sure you're checking your email frequently, the same email that you're using to apply in the first place, because if we do have any questions about your prerequisite plan or your transcripts, or we need to ask for you to, you know, submit an updated transcript, anything like that, we will be contacting you by email at the email you use to apply. So check your email frequently, check the spam folder, and make sure that you are responding promptly to any time that we're reaching out. Now, so then we go through the review period, and candidates who are selected to move on to the interview portion will be notified usually like late January, early February, and then the interviews would take place in February. We'll talk about that next. But just note that after the application review, if you're invited to interview for the program, that would be the next step. So that happens mid-February. And then after the interviews, the final sort of review takes place, and then the final notification would go out to candidates in the middle of March. So again, you would get the notification through your email letting you know about a status update, and you can find the final result that way. If you are admitted, then we're going to send follow-up information again to make sure you're on track for those 90 credits, hands-on art, and submission of your final transcripts. The final transcript submissions are essentially taking place right now. So we're in that process for the fall 2022 cohort. You'd be submitting all your final academic records sort of in the summer period as you would prepare to start in fall. Okay, so some brief information about the interviews. Again, this is part of the holistic review process, so it factors in to the review as well, in addition to all those components that we're looking at on your application. It's approximately 20 minutes with about 4 to 5 questions, and it's conducted by faculty and staff members in the College of Nursing. Our best advice for you is to come prepared for the interview like you would for a job interview. You know, remember, you're interviewing for a space in a competitive program. So, you know, research by getting to know the program, really understand the story you're telling well, understand your experience well, and just come prepared to talk about your experiences and your interest in nursing for that interview. So again, check your email. We cannot emphasize that enough in this session. Check your email all the time, because if you are invited to interview for this program, you will be notified by email. Wonderful. Okay, so here's our transfer email address, also Instagram information. If you have any questions, you can email at transfer@seattleu.edu. And then we will route that email to the admissions counselor who's associated with your last name. If you want to email your counselor directly, follow that link that Mia put in the chat right there. And you can get the direct email addresses for the three of us, and you can email us specifically with your question. But just know that if you email the transfer at Seattle U, it will get to us as well. So it is whatever you prefer. All right, with all that information, now we have time for your questions.